it's all right. So the recording is in progress. I got a little introduction for everybody's looking today. Thank you, Paul, for joining. So today I'm with Paul Ingraham. He's a science writer in Vancouver, Canada, and a chronic pain patient since 2015. Paul was a massage therapist for a decade and left the field because of its embarrassing mess, his words, the omnipresence of pseudoscience. Several years after, Paul was the assistant editor of ScienceBasedMedicine.org, working closely with their world-class team of physicians while building PainScience.com up to be the sister site. His goal is to make PainScience.com a credible source in an era of rampant medical misinformation, despite his medical credential. So he doesn't have medical credential, but he does extensive citation with annotation and links to the original source. He's transparent when he's presenting his opinion pieces and his biases. He's consistently seeking input from substantial network of expert clinicians and researchers. Paul has always presented himself not as a medical expert, but a rigorous science investigator. Keep in mind, he's also human, and one of his favorite non-pain science subjects is paleontology, astronomy, and classical history. So hi, Paul. Thank you for joining in today. We got to talk a little bit beforehand. So you're in a good mood, so that makes me happy.
That's right. I'm in a good mood after our introductory chat. I'm all,
Right.
I'm all tuned up.
So I have a few questions for you. I send them to you, and I got a secret question at the end, and then we'll go for a conclusion. So the first question I have is, what myth would you like to put to rest once and for all to the benefit of all client and patients practitioner when it comes to pain science? We'll start light.
Yeah, very light. Nice, easy one. So many myths to choose from, but there is one myth to rule them all, and in the darkness find them, and that it's got to be the one cause myth. And this is, you could argue about whether this is a myth, but go with me. It's a very prevalent misconception that most pain has one relatively easy to understand source. And that bias shapes so much diagnostic thinking. It is a plague on the field. The reality is that most pain is complex and it is a concert of many factors. Even if there is one relatively easy to understand source, if there is a dominant source, you can still, and almost always do still, have many other factors affecting how it works, how it goes down. And so it's very common for people to suffer in puzzling ways that are very difficult to account for with any one explanation. And this is technically this isn't quite the same myth, but the other aspect of the complexity is that not only is it very often, the pain is in fact being driven by multiple things, but there are so many possible causes of pain that people aren't even aware of. So even if it is caused by just one thing, the full set of possibilities, all the things that one thing might be, it's a really big list. And most people, even experts, in fact, in some cases, especially experts because they're specialized, tend to be aware of only one part of that list, or one subcategory in the mighty total list of all things that can cause pain. Most people will only be aware of some. One of the reasons that I know this to be true is because first by accident, and then more and more deliberately as my career advances, I just keep discovering causes of pain that I didn't know about. And when you've been doing something for 20 years and you're still on a nearly daily basis learning about new things that make people hurt, it's impressive. There's truly a lot of possible causes of
Mm.
pain. So just to give one simple example that I like, uh, the thunderclap headaches are a subspecies of headache, not even that common. There's not a lot, they're out there, but it's not a super common thing. Many people have never even heard
I've never heard
of,
about it.
right. So even that in itself, just one kind of thunderclap headache
Mm.
is a bit exotic to some people. Like, wow, there's thunderclap headaches, and yes, they are as horrible as they sound.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
exactly what it sounds like, a very sudden onset of intense
Whoa.
pain. And here's the fun fact. There's a good paper about thunderclap headaches that lists, I think the number is about 120 known distinct causes of thunderclap headache.
Wow.
120 different pathological ways that
Wow.
you can get a thunderclap headache.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be a lot even if it was a dozen,
Mm.
but we're talking over 100. Um, so I have thunderclap headaches.
Oh.
Lucky me. And an example of how the one cause myth affects healthcare. I had a neurologist once who assessed me for thunderclap headaches. He eliminated one cause and then
Mm.
confidently, looking at me across his desk, said, "Well, that's it. We know that that's not what's causing your thunderclap
Mm.
headache, so we know you're okay, because that's the only thing that we have to worry about
Oh
that could
no.
cause thunderclap headaches." And so yeah, it's that's the myth I'd like to bust. Above all myths, is that there's mostly usually just one cause, and that there aren't
Mm.
that many causes. There, not only are there probably literally thousands of possible ways to hurt,
Mm.
but many of them are often active in the same case at the same time.
This is a great point. I really like that. And it's interesting because out of all the research you have on your website, for you to go to that one, takes it home for me. I I've I've came across and I the biopsychosocial framework, and it was the first time someone told me, yeah, it's not just biomechanical, and I was like, no, it's
What?
impossible. It has to be what I know. If it's not what I know, I am so not doing well good. So I really like that you said that the multifactorial, the list, what can
Mhm.
it be? And it's not just one thing. And it's true that professionals sometimes just lock people in what they know. Like they
Mhm.
go at, you know what, it's my field. You have that and I will save you. And the person say, okay, I'm gonna trust you, you're the expert, and go through the
Yeah,
protocol and don't get better. And they feel that's me, it's on me because he's a professional, he's an expert, and he knows it's that one reason. And people feel
yeah,
terrible about that. So I really like
yeah,
that you insist on that point.
yeah. Another
But
manifestation of it is if someone actually gets helped or they recover
mm,
from their pain and they believe it was caused by X, then they become an evangelist for that. And they go
yeah.
around telling everyone, oh, most pain is caused by that. And I know because I had it and I was fixed. And that really perpetuates the
Mm,
impression that, yeah, there's very specific and not that many things that cause pain.
yeah, confirmation bias, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Once you think you know how something works, you start ignoring other explanations. Just
Yeah.
not that interested in other ways of looking at it because you've got what you need.
Mm,
But every patient is different, and man, there are
yeah.
some bizarre and exotic reasons why people hurt, and they're not that rare. So yeah,
So
that's the myth I want to get rid of.
would you agree then to say something like that? Like if you are in pain and you've tried one thing and it doesn't work, try something else.
Oh
That's
God, yes.
right. That's not a bad simple
Yeah.
tidbit here.
Well, and more than that, if you try 100 things,
Mm,
keep going. It's amazing how many people finally find the explanation
mm,
for their pain after years of trying.
yeah.
Very late diagnosis is extremely common with
Mm.
chronic pain. So yeah, it doesn't really matter how much you've tried. There's always more to do if you can find the right help and the right ideas.
That's an optimistic message. I really like it. So I like that.
Yeah, it is a source of hope. Yeah.
And it leads me to seamlessly to the next point. So what are the best health strategies that you find in your research? And I know some of them are actually so basic, but I know you came across a lot of things. Did you find some and you were like, oh yeah, that's not a bad idea?
Some, yes. The bad news here is that so many pain treatments are
Mm,
kind of nonsense, and that's a product of literally decades of very busy quacks who
mm,
have worked very hard to advertise their ideas. And so we have, the public has been given the impression, by all of these very aggressively marketed
mm,
treatments, that there's lots of treatments for pain,
mm,
and even the cynics who might think, oh, most of it's BS.
mm,
Just the sheer volume of them leads people to believe, well, there must be something that works. There must be, if not that crap, then maybe this one over here. Somebody's got to have the answers, right?
mm,
So the sad truth is that we have very few good treatments for chronic
mm,
pain, and many of those causes that I discussed, both the sheer number of them and the fact that they tend to often coexist, makes it it's a hard problem.
mhm.
So that makes this a hard question to answer.
I know.
Uh,
I
I
was a
I
stinker on that one.
Uh,
But at least it's a honest
I
answer. It's an honest answer, at least. That I think, and
well,
people
I'm
need to
but
hear it.
I'm also I'm teeing up for some good news, right? I'm setting the stage with the overall badness of the situation, and everybody gets it, right?
Mm,
We know chronic pain is a hard problem,
mhm,
but that doesn't mean that there's no hope. So if I had to pick sort of the overall champion of
mm,
the best overall strategy, I would probably go with lifestyle medicine.
mm,
And the reason is it's not that impressive, and it's very unlikely to cure any one problem.
mm,
However, for the very large numbers of cases of puzzling chronic pain, anything you can do to improve your odds overall is
mm,
welcome, right? Cure isn't always a realistic goal.
mhm,
So, looking for treatments that are expected to cure is really a tall order.
mm,
But something that could give lots of people some help is more realistic.
mm.
And the power of lifestyle medicine, and what I mean by lifestyle medicine is
Yeah,
basically
please.
do everything you can to be as healthy as possible, as healthy and fit as possible.
Mhm,
And that's a treatment. It's not a very specific treatment, which is why it's not going to cure much,
mhm,
but it does cast a very wide net.
mm.
And the principle that makes it a little better than it sounds, like a lot of people's first reaction to that might be, really, that's the best you got? Lifestyle medicine, come on, I'm in pain here. Um, and I get it, because I've
Mm,
got that pain, so
yeah.
I know that the being told, well, you need to get maybe better shape, and lose some
Mm,
weight and improve your diet, and it's like, that's pretty weak sauce. But
mm,
here's the magic. Here's where the magic is. Vulnerability to pain
mm,
is something that we can probably reduce.
mhm,
Um, a really common theme in the science of pain is that people with precisely the same biological situation, like, for instance, a herniated disc in their
mm,
spine, one of them hurts and one of them doesn't.
mhm.
Why? That's also, by the way, a good example of the complexity of pain. That
Yeah.
it's not just the herniated disc. There's something else going on,
Mhm,
because some people's herniated discs hurt and some people's don't. And so, what's the difference? Well,
mm,
one of the differences is probably the messy, systemic, biological, biochemical situation, the biological milieu. For instance, systemic inflammation, which
mm,
broadly correlates with fitness. People who are very unfit are typically more inflamed, and that in turn correlates with heart disease and all kinds of other things that crop up when you're just chronically inflamed. But the other thing that chronically pops up when you're chronically inflamed is more pain.
Mm.
So reducing your vulnerability to pain by increasing your overall health and fitness is kind of like it's a slow motion and uncertain painkiller, but a very reliable one.
Mm.
It is a really great way of improving your odds of doing okay over long periods. So that gets my vote as the overall best. And then the final thing I'll say about it is that it's also one of these great treatments where even if it doesn't work, what's the worst thing that happens? You
Yeah.
get fitter, right? It's a
Yeah.
hell of a side effect,
Yeah.
right? You try all kinds of other treatments and they have side effects like costing you an arm and a leg, like causing other symptoms, like eroding the lining of your stomach. There's
Yeah.
all kinds of terrible
Understand.
adverse effects to other treatments. But if you try real hard to get healthier and fitter, the worst possible outcome of that is you get healthier and fitter, and maybe your pain gets easier to control as well.
And it's a very interesting point that you're making, and I really like that you chose something that is not a cookie cutter, because it's not. It's really, you made it clear, pointing a sense of direction. This is what health and science shows us. Like, this is where the evidence lays. But
Yeah,
it's going to be different for you, because we all have different lifestyle, different challenge, different vulnerabilities. And
yeah,
yeah, and then after, you need to spend the time to discuss with a person and really listen to them to see what the challenge are, and try to overcome them one at a time. So it's not satisfying to some, because some people want a fix, and I think not because that's what they want, but because they've been told some technique work as a fix, which they don't. Or if they do, they might have like tremendous side effect, like you say. So I appreciate your candor here. You're not trying to have a quick fix, to have a quick solution. You're trying to simply say, well, you need to work on your health, and that lifestyle change will be mostly beneficial. And you're not trying to guarantee it, which is also, we cannot really say, yeah, it's going to work for everybody for sure, and 100% success. We can't do that. That's not how it works. So
yeah,
it's satisfying to me, but I hope people see the sense of direction here. The way I put it in my word is, you have to put an effort to talk to someone. The other person has to put an effort in listening to you, and then you have to
yeah,
put up some effort into discovering the strategy you're going to implement, and then the effort into actually doing it. And it's going to take a lot out of you, but it's not meaningless, and it's not a bad idea. So
yeah.
you
And
got my
everybody
vote.
takes a different path to fitness. It's
It's
some
true.
very different ways of getting to that goal.
So
Now,
that
I
goes to,
realize my conversational style is
yeah,
making it impossible for us to do this in 15 minutes.
well,
I'll try to answer the next question a little more briefly.
I say that. I say that. I had two more questions, but the next one is, how do you process the integration of new knowledge, basically?
Hmm.
Um, and your conversation style goes in depth, and I have the time to do that, but we can shorten it. It's up to you. I put the weight on you
I
here,
think I can answer this one more briefly. I think.
because you've experienced that as a massage therapist. You were in pseudoscience, and you faced like confusion, and you had
Yeah.
to find your way through. And I
Yeah.
faced that, and it was challenging. But still today, you come up with new research, new information. Well, you don't come up with it, you find them, and you're like,
Correct.
I came up with this today. But you're like, wow, this challenge is something I knew. So how do you process that? And actually,
Yeah.
my next question kind of goes into this as an advice you could give massage therapists when they market themselves,
Mm.
because it's hard to say like, well, I'm going to market myself because I know this, but that might change. And I know
Yeah.
you're quite savvy in that too. So maybe you can link those two questions.
All right. All right, I'll try. Yeah, I've changed my mind about a lot of
Mm,
things over the years, and I take it for granted that what I know now is a work in progress. That all
mm,
knowledge is provisional. Critical thinking is a skill that has to be learned painstakingly over many years, and this was one of the best things that I got from my experiences working with the folks at
mm,
sciencebasedmedicine.org. Is they weren't just smart about their medical knowledge. They
mm,
were also really, really good quality thinkers.
mm.
And I learned a lot of thinking skills from them.
That's
It's
useful.
also an emotional skill.
Mm,
When I'm challenged, and I get challenged a lot,
I would imagine, yeah.
everything from very high quality constructive criticism from people who genuinely know way more than I do about X, everything from that to unhinged, incoherent hatred.
Mm,
I see it all. And the tough ones, and this I'm going to use this as the example to answer the question. Any number of ways I could answer it, but I'm gonna go with this. So
mhm,
what happens when I get something that from someone, I get some criticism from someone, and it's kind of in the middle of that range. It's not
mm,
clearly from someone I should shut up and listen to, but it's not clearly from an unhinged troll either.
mm,
Those are the hardest because it
mm,
would be so easy to dismiss it. I get a
mm.
lot of email, I get too much email. And it would be so easy to just say, let's just file that one under ignore. Um, because I have to ignore lots of the feedback that I get because a lot of
Mm,
it is kind of terrible. So when I get good feedback that is maybe not as well presented as it could be, my
mm,
initial emotional reaction is like practically any human, it's defensive,
mm.
right? I feel attacked.
Yeah.
My ideas are under assault.
Mhm,
The only way that I'm going to get, let's say that for the sake of argument, there's something for me to learn there. I need to
mm,
learn from this feedback that I'm going to ultimately change my mind. To get there, I have to master that emotional reaction. And so
mm,
the number one skill is don't react defensively. Don't start
mm.
that way or you're never going to get through it, right? You'll just end up
Yeah.
in an argument.
Mm,
So for me, the number one emotional skill is to pause long enough
mm.
for me to start thinking, maybe I am wrong about that. I have to get past the defensive reaction, which is just pure emotion,
Mm.
and that's a skill, and it's something that
Yeah,
I've had to just practice over the years. So that there's a lot of ways to answer this, but that's a particular
I
the
like it.
idea that good thinking is a skill, and it also takes emotional maturity.
Mm,
That's the key. And of course, you also have to accept, just as a general principle in your life, that you're probably wrong about some stuff,
yeah.
and that in itself is a big hurdle for a lot of people.
Mm.
But I crossed that Rubicon 25 years ago, and
You're good now.
the superpower is that I learned the hard way a
Mm,
long time ago that I could be really, really wrong.
mm.
And once I had dealt with that, once I had, because I used to believe a bunch of weird crap.
No, me too.
And and many of us do when we're younger, and many of us overcome it, but not everyone. And I had, I just once I learned that, it's like, oh, okay, I guess that's it. For the rest of my life, I have to deal with the possibility that I'm going to be wrong about stuff. This is
Mhm.
probably not the last time that I'm going to be wrong.
No, the way
So
I looked at it was like I like the term of cognitive dissonance. Like you have two beliefs and they come and your brain explode, and it's very
right.
stressful. And when you go and you can just dismiss it and ignore it, but then you kind of get stuck in a rut. And if you pass
Hmm.
through, it's going to be difficult. But then when you're on the other side, well, you stand
Hmm.
corrected and you're a little more
Hmm.
lenient. It
Yeah,
gets easier.
yeah.
So if you
And
have
the
that,
and the connection to
go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, and the connection too.
To marketing.
Yeah.
You asked
But you
about the
make
market.
leverage.
How do you
Yeah.
market?
Yeah, because
The
it's kind of
connection.
hard, right? It's like, oh, you're gonna say, well, my whole practice used to be about myofascial release, and that could be like
Right.
6 episodes right there.
Yeah.
But the then I had to say, well, maybe I can use it as marketing because people know about it, but when they come, I will tell them yes, but no. So, but people are like, I don't want to hear you telling me that. I came here because I thought it would work. So, what would you say to a
Yeah.
massage therapist who starts now after? uh, like studying all those crazy stuff, or I mean, the program is getting better in places. What would you tell them they should sell themselves for? Like, what is it that
Mhm.
they're doing that still will intrigue
Skill as a
people?
wise coach.
Mm,
Yeah, sell process, not product. Sell your ability to be a wise guide.
mm,
And the number one property of a wise guide is humility.
mm,
Right? It's not what you know. It's how easily you admit what you don't know.
yeah.
What we see a lot of in alternative medicine is there's a lot of lip service to
Mm,
humility. People who praise the concept of humility, but then immediately act as though they know it all
yeah.
about whatever, right? and
Mm,
and the number one form of this is they're supposedly humble, but they have absolute faith in their technique or
mm,
modality, and they have very little insight into how well people actually do with that.
mm.
That they think that they're helping lots of people, but in fact many of their clients are walking away and sending a note to someone like me saying, I can't believe the weird treatment that I got that did nothing for me. So it's very important to actually be humble. and,
Yes,
and
it's work.
it's super liberating. And
Mm.
the good news is it's not nearly as bad as it sounds. And it's
No, it's a lot less
once you
pressure on the shoulder, actually. It's like, hey, you know what? I don't know
yeah,
it all, man.
you really don't. I mean, when I look back at what I knew in my clinical career, it's a joke. And I
Mm.
was a well-trained massage therapist, as massage
Yeah,
therapists go. And it's
3,000
just
hours.
the amount that I didn't know was, I mean, the sheer tonnage of what I didn't know. It's staggering that I
Mm,
was, out there in the world selling my services for, more than $1 a minute.
mm.
Amazes me, how much therapy I sold with that much, youthful ignorance. Anyway, it's a great selling point. Earnestly telling people I don't
Mm.
know is
Yeah.
very powerful.
The-
They really like it. I used to tell people when they would say, how does this go? Oh, right. When they would try to book me and I'd
mhm.
say, I don't have anything available. I got a waiting list that'll take 6 months. And they say, you must be very good. And I say, actually, I'm not sure that I'm good. I am charismatic, but
I
I'm
like
not sure
that.
that I'm actually any good. Would always get a laugh, and people would just eat that up. And I would fail with people,
Mm,
and I would say, I have failed with you. I
mm,
am I am not succeeding in helping you. I think you should stop paying me. And they would
mm.
say, no, I want to keep paying someone who admits that they are failing to treat me.
And you know what? It's
It's
something
a
I've
very
heard
attractive
too.
property.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
something I've heard too. Like you said in the first place, a guide. A guide is
Yeah,
what they're looking for. They're not looking for someone who's omniscient, omnipotent. They're looking for a
yeah,
guide. We're all in this
yeah,
kind of together in a sense. I know it's a corny way of thinking. So I think it's a very
yeah.
solid piece of advice for marketing for people now. You know,
Totally.
just like, hey, dude, you
Yeah,
try to do your best and stay humble,
yeah, yeah.
right?
So was that the secret question, or is there one
That
more?
was the secret question. The marketing was a
Oh,
secret question.
yeah.
So
Yeah. I think the secret to marketing is anti-marketing. It's undersell yourself to
yeah.
yourself and to your practice true humility, and you will be rewarded with people's trust and loyalty.
Hmm.
It's almost a bit of a magic trick, that thing of I don't know that I'm really doing you much good. Oh, really? Great. Well, I want to pay you more. I saw it again. and it can. And it has the great virtue of being honest. It's you're not bullshitting. You're just honestly saying, I don't know how to fix this.
Mm,
And I many experiences with clients where we learned about their case together. They would
mm,
discover something with another healthcare professional, and we would go over that together and go, oh wow, well that's really interesting, huh? What are we going to do with that? Is there anything we can do with that? So if you truly see yourself as a collaborator, as a humble collaborator
mm,
with clients, that is excellent marketing.
mm. Part of the team. I like that. And I
Yeah.
know, like, I came up with like five other questions, but I want to save them for later if we do that again, because
For next,
there's so much. Yeah,
yeah,
there's so
they're all
much. And
next. Thanks very much. It's been fun.
you're very welcome. Thank you so much for humoring me and coming to that interview with me. And I want to close it. That's a sentence I've put on the website, but I want to close it as this is as of today, as far as we know, guys. So
Yeah.
don't let this be necessarily the only knowledge you get, and keep on looking for something else. And please do go on PainScience.com. This website is my Wikipedia of PainScience. And every time someone asks me a question, I say, yeah, give me 5 minutes. And then I quick go on PainScience.com and answer the subject. And it gave me, like, over the years, I cannot tell you how grateful I am. And I was talking with someone else on LinkedIn, and they told me the same thing. Say, I think I told him thank you, but I'm not sure. And this website has helped ton of people, and you probably do receive those messages, but I wanted to say it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. And from other people, thank you too, for putting all that effort and dealing with so much BS online, and the sheer volume of what it means to do all that work. So I'm looking forward to put that online, to share with other people, and looking forward to talk to you soon again.
Great. Thanks, Philippe, and we'll talk again soon. I look forward to it.
So now I'm